Okay, in this video we're going to talk about argument data and getting arguments from our programs, basically so they can behave the same way as other programs we are familiar with in Linux. For example, the copy command, CP takes a source argument, the path to a file that you want to copy, and then it also takes a destination argument, and that's the location where you want the copy to end up being, right? And it also takes several different options or switches, right? So these are all argument data. Argument data is anything that comes after the copy command itself. So we would have -R for recursive. We would use that if we were going to copy a directory, for example. And so I might say, projects, something like that. And that would be my source. So the shell would transform the tilde character into the path to my home directory. Right, and then it would add projects at the end of that, and then I have a space, so that means there's a new argument here, and I could say I want to make a backup of this, and I might call it projects.bak. Okay, so in this command, this is a command option. It's an argument. Right, this is an argument. Right, all the arguments are separated by spaces, and it is a path. This would be the source path, and then this is an argument, and it's the destination path. Okay, so that directory doesn't exist, so I'm not going to run that command. But that is the basic structure of a command, and we're passing in arguments. So what we want to do is we want to try to be able to make a program that can collect arguments from the command line just like any other program. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to our desktop. I'm going to I'm running Atom Editor here. It's just a text editor. You can use any text editor you like. But I need to open a new file, and this is just going to call args.py. Okay, and the point of this is only to get the arguments. We need to import a library called sys. Okay, and then we need to reference sys.argv. Okay, and let's just print this out to start with. It's a very good rule of thumb to just add a little bit of code and then test. Add a couple lines of code and then test. The more lines of code you add, the harder it is to track down if something breaks, if something doesn't work the way you thought. Okay, so always code a couple lines and then test. All right, so we go back up to our desktop, Python 3, args. Okay, and we just get a list, and it just said args.py. So sys.argv, so this stands for argument vector. Okay, a vector is, you can think of it just as a list, and that's what we get back from sys.argv. It's a list of the arguments provided to the command before the command executes, right? Argument vector. Now, we see I didn't provide any arguments. The first argument in the sys.argv variable is the name of the program itself. Okay, so if I want to see any other arguments, like I could mimic the arguments up here. Right, I could just paste these. So these would be my arguments, -R, and then that should be the absolute path to a projects folder in my home directory, and that should eventually be the absolute path to projects.bak. Remember, the shell automatically converts the tilde before the command's executed. Right? So we run this, and sure enough, we have args.py, that's the name of the program. Then we see all of the argument data, right? And there's the absolute path, absolute path. Okay, so that's nice. We have a reference to this. Now, in almost all of our cases, we are not interested in this first item. We just want to know what was passed in after that command name, right? So in the vast majority of cases, we don't really want that first item. So what we can do is take a slice of the list, and I can say args equals, right? So I'm making a new variable, and I'm just calling it args. And instead of taking all of the items from sys.argv, I'm going to take a slice. Okay, so you should be familiar with slicing in Python. We can slice lists and strings. Think of it like a slice of bread. I want to start at the first slice. Okay, so basically cutting off the heel of the loaf, right? So at the first slice, and then I want to take the rest all the way to the end of the loaf on the other side. Okay, so this is the slice that I'm taking. If I leave this blank, it means go to the end of the list. So this will essentially just remove one item from our list, and it's the first item. I could do it the other way, and that would remove the last item. Or I could take the first couple slices. I could skip the first slice, and then take the second slice. So that would give me a list with just one item in it, and it would be the second slice. If you imagine this as a loaf of bread, right? So what we want is we want to remove the first item. So we're going to start at the first slice and take the rest. Okay, so that means if this is a slice of bread, right, this would be slice 1, and we're taking the rest of the items here. Right, so this is slice 1, and that's what our list should look like now, and that's what we want. And in most cases, that's going to be the set of arguments that you're looking for. So to prove that, I can print args. We can run the program again, and sure enough, it's the same list, except we've sliced off this first item. So we took everything from slice 1 to the end, and that's what we have now. Okay, so this allows us to look in arguments, and we can do some more interesting things now that we have this variable. All right, so the most obvious thing to do is for arg in args. We could just print them out one at a time. Okay, so notice this is a singular variable name, and this is a plural variable name. Plural variable names usually mean there's a list or a collection. Okay, singular means it's just one of those items. So if this is a list, I'm going to iterate through that list for each argument, singular, in the list of arguments, plural. Right, we're going to print out that one argument. Okay, and those are the individual arguments. One thing we might want to do is we want to check if there is --help in our list of arguments. Okay, so to determine list membership, if we want Python to check to see if this string is in our list, there's a really nice keyword that lets us do that. So if the string --help or --help is in our list of args, then we can print a help message, and this will say something like this program lists out arguments one at a time. All right, and that will be the help text. And then also we could go ahead and exit our program, because if you get the help text, you don't actually want the program to run, you just want the help text. So we want the program to exit if they added in the help argument. Okay, so we can run this, and so if we don't provide the help argument, it just lists out the arguments just like normal. But if we do provide the help argument, it doesn't matter if we provided other arguments. If this one is in our list, it's going to display the help text. This program, there we go. This program lists out arguments one at a time. Okay, so it's a good habit to get into, to add a help text, and you might also want to add a version to any programs that you make. So -- version or -v. You could make it if they add. This is usually the long flag name, 2 hyphens, and you have longer text. There's usually shortcuts for options, and there'll be 1 letter, so it'll be a hyphen and 1 letter. So we could make this. We can add an additional case for printing out the help text. So if --help is in our arguments list, or if -h is in our arguments list. Okay, if either one of those things, one or the other happens, we'll print out the help message. Okay, so we can try that. I can just try -h here, right, and we get the help text. Okay, So that's arguments, and that's how you determine if there is a specific argument in the list. So it's good to do a help text. It's also good to do a version. You might do a version for all of your programs, right? And so that is the basics of collecting arguments for your programs in Python.